What if I told you that beneath Cambodia's lush jungles and vibrant streets lies a legacy of horror so profound that it still haunts the living? Many would rather forget the atrocities of the Khmer Rouge, but what if those who suffered refuse to let us forget? In Cambodia, the spirits of those who perished under Pol Pot's regime whisper their tales to anyone willing to listen. Are you brave enough to confront their dark legacy? Could the echoes of history be more than just memories? In a village where Pol Pot's soldiers once hid, the lines between the living and the dead blur, leaving a chilling question. What happens when the victims refuse to rest and the truth demands to be uncovered? As I embarked on a quest to find Pol Pot's grave with my pink helmet, I discovered that some secrets are buried deep for a reason, and the past is never truly dead. Am I ready to uncover the truth, or will I walk away from the darkness? That's the question I asked myself when I first set out on my journey across Cambodia, determined to find Pol Pot's grave. As a YouTuber constantly seeking new content, the prospect of uncovering the final resting place of one of history's most notorious tyrants was irresistible. I imagined it would be an adventure, a journey into the heart of a country scarred by its past. But what I didn't expect was to stumble upon a place that would reveal the true horror of that history, a place that most people would never dare to visit. I was riding solo on a cheap Honda Win 100cc scooter, sporting a bright pink helmet that drew laughter from every food vendor I passed. The streets of Phnom Penh were alive with energy, filled with the smells of grilled meats and the sweet aroma of sugarcane juice. I pulled over to a roadside stall, eager to try some local delicacies. As I hopped off my scooter, the vendors erupted in laughter at my ridiculous helmet.
You look like a clown,
one of them shouted, chuckling as I ordered a sugarcane drink and a plate of fried tarantulas and scorpions.
Perfect fuel for my adventure,
I joked, holding up the plate of scorpions like a trophy. They laughed even harder, shaking their heads as I took a bite. The crunch of the fried tarantula and its slimy juices oozing into the back of my throat. Yummy in my fatty tummy. But I did gag a little. Little did they know that my adventure would lead me to something far darker than the laughter that surrounded me. With my belly full of fried insects and my mind racing with anticipation, I continued my journey north, seeking to uncover the remnants of the Khmer Rouge and their dark legacy. My destination was a village rumored to be a hideout for Pol Pot's soldiers during the regime's downfall. I wanted to see for myself the land haunted by ghosts and echoes of the past. As I rode deeper into the Cambodian countryside, the landscape transformed. The bustling streets of Phnom Penh faded into lush jungles where the whispers of history surrounded me. I could feel the weight of the past pressing down as I imagined the horrors that took place not so long ago. In the 1970s, under Pol Pot's regime, Cambodia experienced one of the most brutal genocides in history. The Khmer Rouge targeted anyone they perceived as a threat, leading to the systematic torture and execution of over 1 million people. I had read accounts of what happened in places like Tuol Sleng, the infamous prison where political dissidents were tortured before being sent to the killing fields. The methods were gruesome. Beatings, electric shocks, and psychological torment were all part of a horrific routine designed to extract confessions and instill fear. I remember reading about the infamous Treatment Room 21 at Tuol Sleng, where victims were shackled and forced to endure unimaginable pain. They were stripped of their humanity, reduced to mere tools for the regime's brutality. The walls of the prison still echo with the screams of the torture, a haunting reminder of the darkness that consumed this once vibrant nation. As I approached the village, the air felt heavier, the atmosphere charged with a sense of dread. I parked my scooter at the edge of the village, a small cluster of wooden huts nestled deep within the jungle. The villagers eyed me with suspicion, their gazes lingering on my pink helmet as if it were a symbol of something they could not comprehend. I approached an old man named Chenda, who seemed willing to share the village's secrets.
You're looking for Pol Pot's grave? You should turn back. The spirits don't take kindly to outsiders.
Curiosity burned within me. What do you mean? He leaned in closer, his voice barely above a whisper.
The soldiers who came here to hide from justice, they brought their sins with them. They thought they could escape, but the dead followed them. They say the spirits of the people they killed haunt this place.
That night, I set up my makeshift camp on the outskirts of the village. The sounds of the jungle surrounded me, crickets chirping, distant animal calls, and the rustle of leaves. But as darkness fell, something changed. The air grew still, and an oppressive silence settled in. Suddenly I was jolted awake by a rhythmic drumming echoing through the jungle. It grew louder, pounding like a heartbeat, reverberating in my chest. I stepped out of my tent, flashlight in hand, scanning the darkness for the source of the noise, and that's when I saw them. The figures moving between the trees, shadowy and elongated, their eyes reflecting the light like wild animals. My heart raced as I stumbled back, caught between the urge to run and the need to know what I was witnessing. They were gone in an instant, leaving behind only the echo of their footsteps. The next day I explored the village more thoroughly, hoping to uncover any remnants of Pol Pot's presence. I found a small hut filled with remnants of old uniforms, rusted weapons, and faded photographs of men who once called this place home. But as I rummaged through the items, a sense of dread washed over me. What if these men had committed unspeakable acts? What if I was touching the remnants of a past filled with bloodshed? I approached Chenda again, wanting to know more. What really happened here, I asked, desperate for answers.
He sighed, his face clouded with pain. The soldiers who came here after the regime fell were not just hiding from the government. They were hiding from their own guilt. The spirits of the people they killed followed them here. Every year they perform rituals to keep the dead at bay, but it doesn't always work. Rituals?
I pressed, intrigued.
He nodded gravely. They sacrifice animals, but some say they need to sacrifice something more. Some have gone missing over the years.
The thought sent a chill down my spine. As the sun set, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. The villagers were behaving strangely, their eyes darting nervously as I passed. It was as if they knew something I didn't. That night, the drums returned, echoing through the village like a warning. I stepped outside, feeling the pull of the darkness as it enveloped me. The figures appeared again, moving closer, their hollow eyes locked onto mine. Panic surged within me, and I turned to run, but the jungle had changed. Paths twisted and turned, leading me back to that same clearing, the strange symbols glowing faintly on the trees.
The spirits! They want justice. You have to go before it's too late.
In a moment of clarity, I remembered something I had read about the power of recognition. I stepped forward, my voice trembling as I said, "I see you. I see your pain. I remember what was done to you." Suddenly, I was jolted awake again, this time in my bed back in Phnom Penh. The sounds of the jungle were gone, replaced by the hum of the city. I sat up, disoriented and gasping for breath. Had it all been a dream? A fevered nightmare caused by the heat and exhaustion of my journey? But then I saw it. A small, dirt-encrusted scorpion on my nightstand. A remnant of my journey that I couldn't explain. my heart sank. Had the spirits truly followed me back? I picked it up cautiously, my mind racing with the implications. And that's when my phone buzzed. I glanced down and my heart stopped. There was a message from Chenda, sent just minutes ago. It read, "You didn't leave empty-handed. The village is in you now. You are their witness. Don't forget." In that moment, the realization hit me like a thunderbolt. I had thought I was searching for Pol Pot's grave, but in reality, I had uncovered something far more significant. I'd become a part of the haunting, a living connection to the past. The weight of the memories and the pain I had witnessed was now intertwined with my own existence. I looked out the window, the bustling streets of Phnom Penh filled with life. But deep down, I knew the truth. The spirits of the past were not just confined to the village. They lingered everywhere, waiting for someone to acknowledge them, waiting for someone to carry their story. And that person was now me. The gravity of my experience began to settle in. What had started as a quest for content had turned into something deeper, a responsibility. I needed to share the truth of what I had encountered in that village, the horrors of the Khmer Rouge, and the haunting legacy that still lingered in Cambodia. But I also had to grapple with the dark realization that I was no longer just a spectator. I was now part of the narrative, tied to the spirits of those who had suffered so deeply. I decided to gather my thoughts and share my experience through my YouTube channel, Bald and Bankrupt. I wanted to do justice to the stories of the victims, to honor their memories, while also highlighting the resilience of the Cambodian people. As I spoke to the camera, I could feel the weight of their presence around me, guiding my words. Today, I want to take you on a journey into the heart of darkness, I began, my voice steady yet filled with emotion. A journey to understand the impact of the Khmer Rouge regime and the scars it has left on this beautiful country. As I recounted my adventure, I included details about the brutal torture methods I had learned about. I described how victims were subjected to electric shocks, their screams echoing through the dark corridors of Tuol Sleng, their minds shattered by the relentless torment. I spoke of the killing fields where innocent lives were extinguished in the most horrific ways, children crushed against trees, the land soaked with their blood. I wanted to paint a picture that was both shocking and honest, something that would linger in the minds of my viewers long after they finished watching. In the midst of my narration, I paused. I hope this story resonates with you. If you feel moved by what I've shared, please like, share, and subscribe. Click on the playlist in the top left corner for more stories from the darkest corners of our world. Let's honor those who have suffered by ensuring their stories are never forgotten. As I concluded my video, I felt a strange sense of relief. The burden of carrying these stories had lifted slightly, but I knew it was only the beginning. The spirits were still with me, whispering their truths, urging me to keep their memories alive. Days turned into weeks as I continued to post content, but the feeling of being watched never left me. At night, I would wake up to the sound of whispering, the echo of voices I could not quite understand. I would see shadowy figures darting past my window, always just out of sight. And the small scorpion on my nightstand became a constant reminder of my connection to the past. Then, one evening, I received an unexpected message that sent shivers down my spine. A fellow YouTuber called Haunted Whispers, who specializes in horror stories and quite coincidentally, also a subscriber, reached out, claimed to have been in that same village.
You shouldn't have gone there. They will come for you. You need to know the truth before it's too late.
Judging from the absurd contents of her channel, I dismissed it as a prank at first, but the message continued to haunt me. I couldn't shake the feeling that my connection to the village was growing stronger, that the spirits were trying to communicate something urgent. One night, unable to sleep, I decided to revisit my footage from the village. As I scrolled through the videos, something caught my eye. A fleeting shadow in the background, a figure that I hadn't noticed before. My heart raced as I paused the video, rewinding it to examine the moment more closely. There it was, a tall, skeletal figure standing just at the edge of the frame, watching me. My breath hitched in my throat. Could it be? The resemblance was uncanny, the hollow eyes staring back at me filled with an ancient sorrow. The realization washed over me. This wasn't just a remnant of my experience, it was a warning. Suddenly, a cold draft swept through my apartment and the lights flickered. My heart pounded in my chest as I felt the presence grow stronger, an overwhelming force that drew me back to the village. I knew I had to go back, not just for myself, but for the spirits who were pleading for recognition. I rented the same Honda Win 100cc scooter, donning my pink helmet once more, feeling ridiculous yet resolute. This time I wasn't just an outsider. I was a witness, someone who had to bear witness to the truth of what had happened there. When I arrived at the village, everything felt different. The air was thick with anticipation, the villagers watching me with a mix of fear and curiosity. I approached Chenda once more, and this time he did not hesitate.
You came back. You felt them, didn't you? They want you to understand.
I nodded, my heart racing as I shared my experiences since our last meeting. The whispers, the shadows, the warning messages.
They're angry. They want justice, and you are their voice. You must do something.
What can I do? I asked, desperation creeping into my voice.
You need to hold a ceremony. A way to honor those who were lost and to acknowledge the pain they endured. It's the only way to bring peace to the spirits.
With Chenda's guidance, we prepared for the ceremony. The villagers gathered, and the atmosphere was electric with tension. They lit incense, set out offerings, and began to chant in unison, their voices rising and falling like the tide.
As they called upon the spirits, I felt the energy shift around us, a palpable sense of anticipation filling the air.
And then something extraordinary happened.
The shadows emerged, swirling around us, forming into the familiar shapes of the tortured souls who had suffered in silence. Their faces were twisted in agony, but as they surrounded us, I felt their pain transform into something more powerful, a yearning for recognition and understanding.
We see you.
I shouted, echoing the words I'd spoken before.
We honor you.
In that moment, the atmosphere changed. The whispers grew louder, swirling around us, resonating with a harmony I had never felt before. The villagers continued to chant, their voices intertwining with the spirits, creating a beautiful, haunting melody that echoed through the jungle.
As the ceremony reached its peak, I was engulfed in light. The spirits reached out to me, their faces softening as they found peace. I could feel their gratitude washing over me, a warmth that filled the air and chased away the cold shadows that had haunted me.
But just as quickly as it had begun, the light faded and the spirits vanished, leaving behind an overwhelming sense of calm. The villagers looked at me with newfound respect and understanding.
Thank you, Chenda said, his eyes glistening. You helped them find their peace.
I smiled, my heart swelling with relief. I had done something significant. I had honored the memories of those lost. But then, as I turned to leave, something caught my eye. A small, dirt-encrusted scorpion lying on the ground, seemingly out of place. And that's when it hit me. The plot twist I hadn't anticipated. The scorpion was not just a remnant of my journey, it was a marker. A reminder that the spirits of the past were never truly gone. They lived on in the connections we made, in the stories we shared, and in the memories we carried forward. As I picked it up, I understood my role as a storyteller, my responsibility to ensure that the past was never forgotten. The spirits had entrusted me with their truth, and I would continue to share it, honoring their legacy through my platform. With newfound purpose, I mounted my scooter and rode back toward Phnom Penh, the pink helmet a badge of my journey. I knew that my adventures were far from over, but I felt a sense of peace wash over me. Because sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones that remind us of our humanity, the ones that urge us to listen, to acknowledge, and to never forget the shadows that linger behind us. As I prepared to leave the village, a rustle in the underbrush caught my attention. Intrigued, I ventured off the path and discovered a weathered wooden box half buried in the ground. Heart pounding with curiosity, I pried it open to reveal a collection of eerie artifacts. Small, hand-carved wooden figures, pieces of jewelry, and scraps of fabric that seemed to pulse with a dark energy. Tucked among them was a crumpled map, its edges singed and stained, depicting the very village I stood in, marked with symbols that I couldn't decipher. As I traced the symbols with my fingers, a shiver ran down my spine. They appeared to correspond to locations in the jungle where unspeakable horrors had taken place during the Khmer Rouge regime. But the true shock came when I unfolded the map further, revealing a hidden section that marked a nearby cave with a bold red X. Instinctively, I felt a magnetic pull toward it, as if the spirits themselves were guiding me. Against my better judgment, I set off in the direction of the cave, my heart racing with anticipation and dread. Upon arriving, I felt a sudden drop in temperature and an overwhelming sense of unease wash over me. As I entered, the darkness enveloped me, but I pressed on, driven by a compulsion I couldn't explain. What I discovered inside shattered my expectations. Crude drawings covering the walls depicted the very rituals I had witnessed in the village, but they also revealed a chilling truth. These were not mere recollections of the past. They were warnings of a resurgence of dark forces that sought to reclaim power. As I stepped back in horror, the ground beneath me trembled, and I realized that my exploration had awakened something far more sinister than I had ever anticipated. But that will be a story for another time. If you're curious about whether the scorpion I found helped a Korean soldier escape the sinister grip of the North Korean regime, click on the video in the bottom left to find out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click on the playlist in the top left corner for more stories that uncover the hidden truths of our world. After all, sometimes the past isn't as far behind us as we think. It's waiting, watching, urging us not to forget to remember.